This is Kitzur Yomi as we continue learning the halachos of Tevilas Keilim. We're in the middle of Siman Lamed Zayin, and we are up to Sif Yud. Says the Kitzur Strichel Ashkia Kodim Atilu She'aklin Aki. One of the most common shilos is how clean does the utensil have to be, and what happens with the if you realize it was not. So the Kitzur begins by laying down the law. One has to be careful that when you do Tevilas Keilim, the utensil is clean. A mark by the rust, or a bit of blackness, critical words, which are normal and people do not care about. Einay mazik does not interfere with the immersion, and it's note 26 points out the basic chiyuv tefillah is that each and every dot of the keli goes into the mikvah. Let's call klivamachas. The entire kli has to go in at one time. Sheikulu b'mayim, it's all in water. Ukli sheish liyadi, utensil with a handle. Sarach liyos imayad b'vamachas kulu b'mayim, with the handle. Don't make the mistake. No, it's just a handle. It's not the right material. A handle is an intrinsic critical part of the kli. Therefore, that has to as well go into the mikvah. Someone is totally filling a keli and he's holding it in your hand. So listen to the words of the Kitzur. First, put your hand into the mikvah, make your hand wet. Do not hold the kli with force. With an average grip, and you're allowed to then hold the kli. So the Kitzur just said something fascinating. As long as you get your hand wet, then you could hold it not tight, but you could hold it with an average grip. If you're immersed by something of a rope tied onto you, you're in a well and you don't want to lose the items. A loose knot that the water could come in to all parts of the kli. So the Kitzur over here gives a little bit of an eitzah, which is make your hand wet. Then you could even hold the keli while you're being tevel. The eitzah we always give is put one hand in the mikvah, because it's a whole shayla. Does it work to make your hand wet and they take your hand out of the mikvah? So to speak out the halacha, what one should do, put your right hand, put one of your hands underwater, put the keli in the water, and underwater pull it into your other hand, and then as long as you're not holding it very tight, it will be fine. If you're teveling a keli that has a narrow opening, you have to be careful that it's in the water until it becomes filled with water. The entire kli, inside mibachot. So this is the reason why you just take a bottle and you stick it underwater, it's not going to be filled with water. There'll be a lot of air. So you have to be careful to fill it up with water. And the itza is fill it up with water outside of the mikvah and then put it underneath, and then the water is touched and it is fine. Says the Kitzur Sif Yud Bey is very common. Katanu Kitana, boy or girl less than bar bas mitzvah. Einon ne'eman al Tevilas Keilim. And over here we see that it's a din in ne'emanis. The act of tefillah, that could be done by a child, but there's no ne'emanis, there's no credibility and trust that they did it. So if an adult is watching them, then it would not be a problem. Finally, Sivya Gimel us lots of kli b'shavs yantiv. You're not allowed to do Tevilas Keilim b'shavs yantiv. V'shal atvilu mikar. Let's say you messed up and you forgot to tevel the keli before Shabbos and yantiv. What do you do now? Says the Kitzur Yineu l'nachem atanim v'achzav v'shem menu. Give it to a guy and borrow it from him. Ayin tas. V'mukli sh'oil lavi b'mayim. If it's a kli that can be used to bring water, makashamot l'tal to the place you could carry. Yishav b'mayim v'yavel l'beisai. Draw some water and carry it with it to your house. It doesn't look like you're being tevelet. Don't make a bracha. I don't know if that is so common, but it'll definitely be common, the other eitzah of giving it to a guy. We continue with Simin Lamin Ches, the halachas of Bishul Akum, the care that we see that Chazal wanted to create a separation between Goyim and Yidden. Chazal came along, as we'll see, with numerous gezeras, whether it's the bread of a guy, whether it's the cooking of a guy, or whether it's the milk of a guy. We begin with Sif Yod. Incorrect. We begin with Sif Aleph. Says the Kitzur, you're not allowed to eat the bread of a guy. Some places are mekel. And you're allowed to buy bread from a guy But in nachtoim, a baker, if there is no Jewish baker, or even if there is a Jewish baker, a very important klal, the bread is not as good. And this is going to be the reason why certain items, even though they're baked by the baker, but someone might say that it's better than the Jewish ones. It's better than the ones baked by the Jewish baker, and therefore, even according to the Chumrah, one could be mekel, this level. Something made by a goyish, a home person. Ein ma'kilim achmashat l'tchak. Umishu b'derech lahasik pas kosher. Sarch lahamtin at a parish if to wait up to a parish. Again, not so common nowadays, but you cannot eat bread baked in a non-Jewish household. If it's made for his household. Aval. The Kitzur Paskins that if a goyish household person is making bread to sell, but they're making it out of their house, he's called a baker. And so again, it has to do with what is their kavanah, not if they're wearing a baker hat, but are they doing it to sell? Are they doing it for themselves? If there's no baker, some are even mekel and but again, that's only when there's no other bread. And we continue with and here it is. The simple and critical way to make pas Yisrael is to put in one piece of wood into the fire. The pas becomes mutter of lavi pas akum, then it's called pas Yisrael. And as we'll see, Bishul will be the same thing, that by throwing in hashlochas akisim, by throwing in a little bit to the fire, that makes it Jewish involvement in the baking, cooking process, which we will get to. Bishul Akum says the Kitzur shel chamish mean a dagon. Pas kidneys, bread of legumes, or cornbread, pas also Bishul Akum is also Bishul Akum. Why? Which, as we'll see, that is going to be the critical ingredient in Bishul Akum. Has to do with it. Do they serve it to the king? Is it a chashuv of food or not? Pas sift alad pasha panav teichem bebitzim aser. Bread that is coated with the eggs is aser. Why? Misham abitzim shal, the eggs and David Bishul Akum. The eggs are cooked by a guy. It's Bishul Akum. Wafers or pancakes. Is a Hashem. You have to be careful that the iron was smeared with non-kosher fat. Asur b'cholenian shem blias ulcer. Well, from here, maybe you do see that barring the blia issue, if the ingredients are kosher, you want to know, is that called pas? Is that called bishul? It's telling the Kitzur's paskening, it's called pas, and it won't be an issue as long as there's no issue of non-kosher. Pas is shava akum. Let's say Jewish bread that was baked by a non-Jew. You have a cleaning lady, and she puts the bread in the oven, the challah carved in the asaka. It's even worse. Also, Bishul Akum. You made the oven kosher, return on the fire. You have to be careful about this when you're going to send food to be baked or roasted by a baker who's a guy. Only give it to him after you fire up the oven. You put something inside the oven. We continue with Sivav says the Kitzur, moving on to Bishul Akum. That is not eaten raw. Vegam two tanaim in order to be Bishul Akum. Vegam number 2, oila al shulchan melachim. It's something that is served on the king's table. So chashva food, lavzo sabasi with bread, oila paparis, or an appetizer. Bishul Akum that was cooked and roasted by a guy. Afilu b'kli Yisrael b'beis Yisrael also misham Bishul Akum. So Bishul Akum is not where it is. Bishul Akum is intrinsic if it's cooked by a guy. Something you eat raw. Ain't by misham Bishul Akum. So not a chashuv food, you're allowed to have a guy cook for you. Obviously, you have to make sure the ingredients are kosher, or an item that is eaten raw. Like Keilim, don't worry about the Keilim. This time Keilim inim bin yayim, and therefore will not pose an issue. And we continue, we wrap it up with Zayin Sivches. Says the Kitzur, Shivcha Akum Yisrael, a non-Jewish help in a Jewish household. Ha-mivasheles b'shul Yisrael, she cooks for the yid, noyig in the hakil. Because of course everyone touches the fire, which brings up the obvious question: what if they didn't? What if you're a non-Jewish cleaning lady that's cooking straight, and there's no one else there? That l'chayr would yes be a problem. However, if the maid cooking for herself, the yid doesn't usually go and play with the fire. Maybe won't even help. To guard me Bishul Yisok is even worse than if it's cooked for a Yidul Chenim Bishul Dvarim Sheish Bishul Akum Lo Levada Tav Shel Aser. Not only the Tav Shel Aser, but says the Kitzur when you have a situation of Bishul Akum like Gama Kideira. That's Levashul Chatzchil B'Diavad. Of course, that's a Shilos Chacham. Pick it up from here. B'Siyata Dishmai.